Today is Friday, December 15th. We're talking about a new bipartisan compromise that addresses military pay, drug trials, a digital spying program, and more. Also, more anti-Semitic terror plots may have been prevented, and there could be a growing rift between the U.S. and Israel over the war in Gaza. Plus, how one wild animal interrupted one of the busiest commuter routes in the country, why two popular online retailers are going head-to-head in court, and Pennsylvania lawmakers are officially in their Taylor Swift era. We'll explain. Those stories and even more news to know next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in about 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Lacey Evans, filling in for Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. The U.S. Congress passed what's likely the last piece of major legislation in 2023. Lawmakers approved a defense policy bill that authorizes the biggest pay raise for troops in more than 2 decades and lowers expenses for military families. It also allows the military to take part in clinical trials that use either psychedelic substances or cannabis to treat post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injuries. And it extends a controversial law that allows warrantless surveillance of foreign nationals. On Ukraine, the bill creates a special inspector general to address concerns about whether American aid is being spent as intended. And when it comes to the Indo-Pacific region, the bill establishes a new training program with Taiwan, gives Australia access to nuclear-powered submarines, and so on. Not everyone was happy about the bill, though. Some of the most conservative Republicans were pushing for the measure to restrict the Pentagon's diversity initiatives, abortion travel policy, and more. But Democrats didn't support the bill until most of those restrictions were removed. One controversial measure was left in, though. The Pentagon now has to freeze hiring for diversity and inclusion training, at least until a full accounting of the program and its cost is reported to Congress. In the end, the final version got support from both Democrats and Republicans in both chambers of Congress. It's now on President Biden's desk, and he's expected to sign it soon. There seems to have been a slight shift in the Biden administration's wholehearted support for Israel's war in Gaza. President Biden has been speaking out more and more about the rising civilian death toll in the Gaza Strip. The Hamas-controlled Gaza Health Ministry now says nearly 19,000 Palestinians have been confirmed killed, and about 70% of them have been women and children. Plus, the vast majority of those who have survived are now displaced and facing a humanitarian crisis. So, several news outlets have cited sources who say the Biden administration wants Israel to end its large-scale operation in Gaza and transition to a more targeted phase of war against Hamas within weeks. New intelligence might have something to do with that. Apparently, an assessment was shared with Congress this week that says nearly half of the aerial weapons Israel has dropped on Gaza so far in the war have been unguided, so-called dumb bombs. They are cheaper, but much less accurate than precision-guided munitions steered by lasers or satellite navigation systems. President Biden has made it clear he still does support Israel's goal of taking out Hamas, but that Israel needs to be more careful. It's not clear whether Israel really plans to change up its war strategy, though. Israel's defense chief just yesterday predicted the war with Hamas will last several more months. And Israel's military still says it's justified, pointing to October 7th, when Hamas killed at least 1,200 people in Israel and took about 240 hostages. As for what's next, another senior Israeli diplomat said the country absolutely would not accept a two-state solution after the war is over. Of course, that goes against long-standing American policy objectives in the region. And just this week, a U.S. State Department official said there can be no lasting peace and security without a Palestinian state. The White House's national security advisor has been meeting with top Israeli officials already and plans to sit down with the Palestinian Authority president today. It looks like militants could still be planning to target more Jewish people around the world. Just this week, 7 people, including 4 suspected Hamas members, were arrested for plotting attacks on Jewish institutions. They were caught in Denmark, Germany, and the Netherlands. We don't know the specifics, but the Danish prime minister said the threats were as serious as it gets. The European Union has pointed out that ever since the war broke out in Gaza, there has been increased polarization in Europe, just like here in the U.S. And it's seen an increase in anti-Semitic attacks, just like here in the U.S. So the EU is beefing up security around public places, specifically places of worship, for the holiday season. Some American cities have done the same. Ukraine got a big breakthrough this week, not in its fight against Russia, but in its relationship with allies. The European Union officially agreed to discuss bringing in Ukraine as a member. It's a move that's expected to anger Russian President Putin, even though the path to membership will likely take years. Ukrainian President Zelensky called it, quote, a victory that motivates, inspires, and strengthens. That said, the EU isn't totally on the same page when it comes to Ukraine, and the next financial aid package for the war-torn country is on hold. So, similarly to American lawmakers, EU representatives plan to revisit the issue in the new year. Tomorrow marks an important date in American history. It will be exactly 250 years since the Boston Tea Party. Yep, it was December 16th, 1773, when American patriots tossed British tea into Boston Harbor in a massive show of protest against tea taxes. At the time, colonists were frustrated about being taxed without a representative sitting in the British Parliament to voice their concerns. So the Boston Tea Party got the British government's attention, and it helped to spark the American Revolution just a few years later. This weekend, the city of Boston is hosting several reenactments to commemorate the historic event, and thousands of people are expected to watch the ceremonial tea throwing tomorrow night. More news is still coming up, but first, here's your regular host, Erica Mandy, with a word about today's sponsor.
I'm sure you've heard of the benefits of stretching, so I'm here to tell you about a device that I found makes my stretching more effective and its benefits much more pronounced. Even after the first time I used the Castle Flex, I could tell a difference. And the more I use it, the better my body feels. My husband and I both have dealt with back issues, so we've needed something to really work. And the Castle Flex has helped so much. Think of this device as WD-40 for achy bones and tight muscles. Plus, it's the same price as just 1 or 2 massages or chiro sessions, and yet it can be used daily for years. And right now, they're allowing returns even after the holidays until January 15th, so you can gift it without worrying about return deadlines. Though really, they have a less than 1% return rate anyway, so you and your loved ones will want to hang on to it. Oh, and we have a code for our community right now to get a discount. So take advantage by going to castleflex.com, that's flex with 2 X's, and use our code NEWS12 for 10% off. CastleFlex, F-L-E-X-X, castleflex.com with the code NEWS12.
Now, back to the news. It's that time of year again. There has been a big uptick in respiratory viruses like the flu, COVID-19, and RSV. Hospitals are getting more crowded, and the CDC says it could get worse in the coming weeks, possibly putting a strain on the American healthcare system. This week, the Federal Health Agency put out an advisory to warn healthcare providers that not enough people are getting vaccinated this year. For example, only about 36% of Americans have gotten this year's flu shot, and only about 17% are up to date on their COVID-19 shots. So far, only infants and seniors are eligible for the RSV vaccines, but those rates have been low too. The CDC recommends anyone who can get vaccinated for any of the respiratory viruses should do so. But other prevention methods can make a difference too, like wearing masks, washing hands, and getting tested and treated at the first sign of symptoms. A couple of fast fashion rivals are wrapped up in another legal fight. We're talking about 2 online upstarts out of China, Temu and Shein, that have both become increasingly popular here in the U.S. In the latest court filing, Temu accused Shein of hatching a desperate plan to undercut its business, complete with mafia-style tactics. For example, it says Shein forced suppliers into exclusive agreements, poached key marketing executives to replicate promotional strategies, and threatened or even detained Temu merchants to get information on the competitor. But Shein says the lawsuit is without merit and it plans to defend itself. Meanwhile, American lawmakers are still investigating both companies to see if they've been violating American trade law or evading human rights reviews. So stay tuned. Some of the busiest train lines in the country came to a standstill yesterday, and not for your usual reason. A live bull with long horns was running loose on the New Jersey Transit train tracks in Newark, causing long delays between Newark's Penn Station and Penn Station in New York City. The bull was eventually caught and taken to an animal sanctuary, and no injuries were reported, but it's still not clear where exactly it came from. Trains are up and running again this morning. Taylor Swift can add yet another honor to her long list of accolades this year. In her home state of Pennsylvania, the State House of Representatives passed a resolution to recognize the year 2023 officially as the Taylor Swift era. Swift grew up in Pennsylvania, though she doesn't actually have a home there now. Instead, she has homes in New York, Los Angeles, Rhode Island, and Nashville, Tennessee. Still, Pennsylvania benefits from her roots. This year, the Federal Reserve in the state said Swift's tour helped give hotel bookings the strongest growth since the pre-pandemic years. She also donated money to hunger relief organizations there, and her hometown put up a mural in her honor. Plus, Swift has encouraged thousands of people to register to vote. So, now that the resolution has passed, it recognizes Swift as a, quote, role model of courage, self-acceptance, and self-determination. Heads up, if you're determined to get gifts to friends and family by Christmas time, you'll have to get them in the mail soon. Today is the deadline if you plan to send your items through FedEx using regular ground shipping. Then Monday is the last day to send them using the U.S. Postal Service's first-class mail. And UPS recommends mapping out the best time to mail your items with ground shipping on their website. Or you could wait a little longer, but then you'll have to pay extra for expedited shipping. If you haven't even bought the items yet, you can, of course, send a gift directly to someone's house to save time, though most stores' deadlines are likely coming up soon too, unless you're able to use something like Amazon's 2-day shipping. That's it for the main news today, but now it's time for Feel Good Friday, where we bring you one extra feel-good or positive news story before the weekend. But first, here's Erica again with a message from CastleFlex.
The new year is coming up, but you do not have to wait to start making your health a priority because Copilot makes it so easy. The app gives you a real-life fitness coach who will customize workouts for you and your individual needs and goals. No fitness fads here that will just fade out by February either, because you're set up for success with a personalized plan that your coach can adapt for you as needed. And yet it's actually still affordable. My experience has been really, really impressive. My coach, Megan, has created this perfect workout plan for my busy lifestyle that I can do anywhere on my own time. And she has been so supportive, cheering me on, holding me accountable, and still being understanding if I miss a workout. I'd love for you to follow my lead to get fit and feel fabulous. Give Copilot a try to find out why it was listed by Forbes as the top-rated personal trainer app of 2023. Head to go.mycopilot.com/newsworthy to get a 14-day free trial and 20% off your first month of personalized fitness with your own personal trainer if you sign up before February 1st, 2024. That's go.mycopilot.com/newsworthy to get a free 14 days trial and 20% off your first month. Sign up for the new year and let Copilot help you reach your fitness goals.
Okay, now back to Feel Good Friday. Dozens of fathers are spreading positive vibes at elementary schools in Kentucky. Volunteers, who call themselves Flash Dads, show up in the morning to line school hallways and surprise students. They give out high fives, fist bumps, hugs, and smiles to help students feel appreciated and excited about their days. A lot of the Flash Dads have other jobs and they don't get paid for this, but still think it's important to boost kids' morale, just so they know there are people who care about them. And it's been going well. Students, principals, and teachers say their days tend to be better when the Flash Dads get them started. The group has been showing up at elementary schools once a month, always on Wednesdays, for years now. They're still taking more volunteers, and they're hoping to inspire more Flash Dads groups around the country. Erica will be back tomorrow with our special edition Saturday episode about how technology changed in 2023 and what's expected for 2024. Then check back in Monday for your next news roundup. For now, thanks for listening and have a great weekend.